Welcome everyone to another episode of Views from the Stands. This is your host Gunner, aka G-Man Blazin, and we're gonna dive into Steelers. Should Tomlin be fired? We'll discuss about my Steelers, and then we'll go over kind of signing day and a little bit of transfer portal, what's going on in the recruiting world for college football. So a lot to cover and looking forward to covering it right now. So let's get into the screen sharing as always. And while we're screen sharing, real quick before we dive in, guys, as always, shout out to Like the Torch podcast. It's a podcast that I go on every week. It's sometimes twice a week. It's something that some guys from Bleacher Report and I kind of created through connecting through USC football. So shout out to them. Go subscribe. Go share. Go like. We will have an episode this week. We usually have the live episodes for those shows. So if any big time at USC fans out there, go follow. Also, Cheesehead Chatter, a new podcast that's joining out there in the Midwest and Wisconsin. Got some a good buddy of mine. Him and his buddies are doing it together. So it's been great so far. It's great to see what they're doing and kind of feel like we can use each other and what like that. So it's been pretty cool. So shout them out. Go subscribe. And let's get into it, folks. So I really want to talk about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, right? So the question is, should Mike Tomlin be fired, right? And I really want to dive into after the October 29th game, okay? So we lost to the Jaguars 20-10, okay? And the next week it was on Thursday Night Football. We faced the Titans and we won, right? So we win. We're in a good position. We go into the next week. We face the Packers, and we win, right? It's back and forth game, but we get the dub. So we're 2-0 since that in my opinion, embarrassing loss against the Jaguars. I don't think the Jaguars really won that game. I think we lost that game. And I understand, and we'll get into more with with the quarterback and coordinator and all that. But we're 2-0 since that loss. We go into the Browns game and we lose 13-10 on a backup quarterback. Deshaun Watson. So before we play this game, Deshaun Watson gets out for the year. Joe Burrow is out for the year, and then obviously you have the Cardinals, Patriots, and Colts. Those 5 games, in my humble opinion, if you're a team that wants to win and is a Pittsburgh Steelers team, you got to win these games, in my opinion. Like when you have backups in the game and non-competitive teams out there that's on your roster, you got to show out every week and ball out. And I mean, obviously, that's why we're kind of having this discussion right now. So we lose to the Browns, and after the Browns, we decide, okay, Matt Canada, you are the problem. You are finally canned. Let's remove you from the situation. So now they have assistant coaches acting as the OCs, essentially their coach, offensive coordinators. And we go into the Bengals game, right, with Kenny Pickett, and we win 16-10. Okay. So we go into the next 3 weeks, basically. You got the Cardinals, Patriots, and Colts. Again, you don't have Matt Canada. That's always been the issue, according to everyone that's been following the Steelers and following NFL. That's the big hurdle for Kenny Pickett. Well, Kenny Pickett gets hurt in the Cardinals game, and we lose 24-10 at home. Embarrassing. Okay, we go into Thursday Night Football against the Patriots at home. We lose 21-18. Embarrassing. Regardless if your starting quarterback's not there, you have backups, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. Obviously, Mr. Trubisky was playing the Cardinals game and the Patriots game. Obviously, we'll talk about the Steelers game, the Colts game in a minute. But he's been playing. And at the end of the day, I think, in my opinion, regardless of if you're known for defense or whatnot, you're a head coach. You should work to get your work to fix things, right? So on the offensive end, try to move the ball better. How do we make it more efficient? How do we get a passing game in some aspects, right? You don't have to be going for 300 yards, 400 yards. We don't need to be Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, right? Let's get 250. Let's run the ball over 100 yards, which we were doing in terms of the running the ball. It's just the consistency in the O line and the consistency in the passing game with the wide receivers is just not there. We got George Pickens, which we'll talk about, and obviously more when we go over some of the news and stuff, what's going on, just kind of creating this whole chaos. But I mean, he's out of the game. He one play he's in it, one play he's out. You see him just in by himself doing his thing. It's just people are not buying in. I mean, you got Deontay Johnson not going after a fumble, just seeing a defender go past him. Because it's bad. It really is. The Steeler way is not what we're seeing right now in terms of the players and how they're acting right now. In my opinion, we're not a drama organization. We've never been an drama organization. If there's drama, you're out. You got to get out. So, I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick kind of pointed to it earlier in this, I think, maybe in November, early December. I mean, people just think, you're wearing the black and yellow and you're going to go in and win games. You got to show up and put in the work, right? So it's very, 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 very disappointing. So again, we lose that Patriots game, and we go into last week against the Colts. Colts are playing pretty well, pretty solid team. Shane Steichen's got those boys rolling, in my opinion. They got Gardner Minshew, who, in my opinion, should have been the backup quarterback for the Steelers, but I digress. And we get stomped 30-13 on the road in Indy. So we have 3 more games. We got the Bengals at home, and then we have 2 road games, Seahawks game and the Ravens game. In my opinion, at least 1 and 2, I don't see how we beat the Ravens, regardless if the defense plays well against Lamar Jackson. The defense has just been on the field way too much throughout these games, and I mean, there's going to come a point where they're going to be so drained, right? So, I mean, I think it's done. But the Ravens could be guaranteed, right, a playoff spot, whatever the case may be, and they could sit starters. That could be the case, right? So that you never know with there. The Seahawks game, I'm not sure about that. It's on Christmas, or not Christmas, New Year's Eve, excuse me. And then we have this Bengals game this Saturday. I'm not confident. I think this will be the first year that Tomlin will be under 500. And kind of going into really his record and stuff before we talk about some of the more of the news and what's going on in the chaos. So I mean, he's 170 and 100, about I'll round up 630 percentage, right? 63% win percentage. Very solid, very great. Any team would want him, obviously. He hasn't won a Super Bowl since 2008, so it's been about 15 years. And just a reminder, he retained a Bill Cowher team, basically, because that was his second year. So, I mean, no offense. He's 51 years old now. We had 2 seasons prior that we were basically 9-8. I mean, one of them was 9-7-1, but basically 9-8. We were 12-4 prior to that in 2020, and then we were basically 8-8, 9-6. And that's basically been how it's been for the last 5 years. Since we've basically been 500 ball. We're 7-7 right now, and again, I only see 8-10 or 8-9. Sorry. Record maybe 9-8. I mean, again, it's going to come to this Bengals Ravens game. Those 2 games, maybe obviously Seahawks too, but so. And again, he was only a DC for Minnesota 1 year, and then obviously he was head coach. He was part of the Tampa Bay system as well with that coaching staff back in the day in the early 2000s. So I mean, I just think he's losing the touch. He's hiring, Matt Canada. He's got Kenny Pickett. He can't help assist the offense. And in today's game, it's an offensive game. I mean, defensive still matters. You need to make stops, but you need to move the ball to do things, right? So it really is sad. It is shocking and doing this episode and talking about it right now that even asking the question, should Mike Tomlin be fired? And I mean, really, I would not mind it. I'm okay if he goes for another year and we really focus on the assistant coaches. I think that is could be a problem right now. It's like the assistant coaches aren't up to par to what we need. So at the end of the day, he's got 1 year left, so we're really close. I would prefer as well, though, if someone would trade for him, get a draft pick, and then we can we can do that. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely been tough the last couple months, to be honest, with the Steelers, and a couple years. So I mean, George Pickens, right? He's not blocking on a run near goal line, and he didn't want to get hurt. He didn't want to get the Tank Dell situation. He gets called out in the meetings. Obviously, there's supposedly going to be some more further personnel changes, and that could be within the players as well. We are going to finally get Mason Rudolph for this Bengals game. Kenny Pickett is probably going to be the backup. It sounds like, if healthy. But we are going to give Mason Rudolph a shot finally. I mean that dude's got balls, dude. The dude doesn't say anything. Dude gets hit by a helmet. After that, nothing. Just goes and sits on the bench, be a backup, does his thing. I mean, in my opinion, he's been around Big Ben, man. He understands kind of really the Steeler way, in my opinion, because Big Ben was one of the last guys to show us. So I'm happy about it. I hope he goes out there and just slings it, man. That's all I'm worried about right now. Let's just sling it and then go from there, man. So yeah, there's gonna be more issues in terms of that. And then so I wanted to kind of go over more about the offense and the defense, right, and all this stuff. So in passing, we are the second worst passing offense behind or ahead of the Giants. The Giants are the worst. We're the second worst team in throwing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. The Jets are worse. Now we are relatively good in keeping the ball from being intercepted, but that's still horrible. We pretty much bottom half of the group in 20+ yard plays, and we're pretty much below pack middle in 40 yards as well. So, and we are actually not giving up as many sacks, which is surprising. Given though that our offense is a quick offense, get the ball out quick. So, and then with running, actually, we're actually middle of the pack, so we're okay there. Touchdowns, though, we are relatively kind of towards the end to the middle. I mean, we're not really, again, producing many passing plays, and anything else it comes down to. What you can see is the passing or the rushing stuff is in the bag, right? We got 11. We're pretty much in the top in making 20+ yard runs. We're in the middle of 40 yard, but 40 yard is what it is. Defense. So we allow about 60% completion percentage. We allow about, in the middle of yardage here. We give up about 20 touchdowns. It's kind of middle towards the top, though. We do. We're pretty much turnover or bust kind of team. It's just the team's been up there for a while. We're in the middle pack in terms of rushing yards allowed, so people like to run on us. And we have $100 million defense, and that's kind of the thing with Mike Tomlin. He's known as a defensive coach. Why can't we improve things on the defensive end to try to improve on the help with the offense? And obviously, at the same time, though, you say is they can only do so much, right? Basically, so I mean, pretty much at the end of this kind of, I guess you can call it a rant or whatnot, is I do think Mike Tomlin should be fired, should be moved on. If the Patriots can move on from Bill Belichick, which is all indications that will happen, I think the Steelers can move on and find somebody young that can change this team around. Unless again they can get a well known offensive coordinator, somebody that's well respected. Um, I would really want somebody that understands like the Niners scheme. There's a lot of teams out there that follow that scheme in terms of the Shanahan offense. I think it's, from my understanding, it's pretty easy to learn and understand, and then everything flows. It seems like the system is really key, and you just got to put playmakers around there, and then they create the rest. So I would love that. That's something that Tomlin, if Tomlin is going to stay. If not, let's go change it up and let's go full rebuild, because I mean it's tough to just be like, oh yeah, we're over 500, but we're always going to be in the middle of the pack in draft picks. It's tough. It really is tough. So all right, guys, let's get into so signing day is happening as of right now. Things are happening as we speak, and obviously I'm going to be going on here. So DJ Lagway signed. He's going to Florida, and we'll talk about them. And obviously, that's something that USC was looking to flip, basically. But obviously, the conversations were late given the Malachi Nelson news, and we'll go over that probably in the transfer when we go over there if you haven't talked about that. Georgia Tech, though, flipped a kid from Colorado, and then Florida's going to lose another wide receiver. But let's just go over the school. So Georgia, I mean, there's really not much to touch about on Georgia. Not many flips, not many surprises. Alabama, they had some couple flips. One from Texas, they flipped from Texas. They were thinking about flipping a D lineman, Edric Houston from Ohio State. That doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. He is signing with Ohio State. Ohio State did lose a commitment to Oregon wide receiver Jeremy McClanahan, I believe, is the full name. So, and then Ohio State did lose on Carlin Jones from USC as well. But still a solid recruiting class. They got Jeremiah Smith. There was concerns there that he was going to go to Miami, Florida State, Florida, one of those schools, but he's sticking with Ohio State. So kudos to them. Oregon, couple flips. They flipped Ryan Pelham from USC to Oregon. He's really an Oregon legacy. His coaching brother and family kind of connected there. So not a surprise. He's got a kid. And Oregon, they dropped bags. Probably get some more intel on that later this week. But yeah, they definitely dropped some bags. Sorry. I was just thinking for a second. Anyway, great class from Oregon. They did flip. I'm trying to think here. I know they flipped someone else. Obviously the Ohio State. I thought they flipped somebody else on defense, but I mean, Oregon's just a great program. They know how to recruit. They have the tools and the toys to do that, right? Texas, great class, top 5. They flipped Xavier Flimsy from Florida prior to today. So great get for them. They had 4 or 5 stars there. And what's even crazy going back, Oregon, a lot of high 4-star recruits, because you have no 5 stars, and obviously you have about 4 more recruits than Texas, but 5 stars weigh a lot, right? So from an average perspective, though, and that's what I really look at, is averages, in my opinion, guys. When you're looking at recruiting rankings and stuff like that, that really tells you the quality of the recruiting class. At times, the overall is more of a again, at times, the points, right? Because they have 28, right? If they're at 25, would they be same? Most likely still, right? Because the average is still high. Okay. Florida State, they did lose a commitment, and actually going back to Georgia, I can't believe I missed this. KJ Bolden, safety from Beaufort, Georgia, flips from Florida State to Georgia. So big get from Georgia, increases their number 1 ranking. Tough loss for Florida State, but they'll manage. Got a solid class. Miami, I would say they're pretty solid. They've had some good flips. A flip from Florida here and there. They lost a couple people because, again, they thought Jeremy Smith was going to be there, or Jeremiah Smith, excuse me. But solid class, top 10. Can't argue for much more. Auburn, I mean, they're 8th. They flipped the D lineman from Florida. I mean, this has kind of been the theme, obviously. So, I mean, anything to get in the top 10 is great. Oklahoma, pretty solid class, great. Again, anytime you get in the top 10 is good. Notre Dame, they took KVA from USC. It wasn't a flip, but somebody, early on in the recruiting process, something that obviously we wanted as USC fans, but um, he's going with God's decision in his word, basically. LSU's 11th. Not much to shine on there. Clemson's 12th, Tennessee's 13th, Penn State 14th, so Florida's 15th. So a couple weeks ago, Florida was basically a top 3, top 5 recruiting class. They are now 15. They have lost 2 to 3 linemen. Their top D lineman is holding off. He's going to take some more visits in January, it sounds like. Their quarterback did sign, who, again, was thinking about going to USC or even Texas A&M. He is staying with that, so we'll see how that goes later on. Maybe changes his decision, but they definitely took a slide. At the end of the day, they have a good average at 91.26. So at the end of the day, they're beating Penn State, Tennessee, Clemson, LSU in terms of average. So that's a great class. Michigan, they've kind of fallen. I mean, throughout the great class, still 26. I think anytime you can get over 20, in my opinion, is a solid class for any school. But no 5 stars, as you can see. Decent average, but just a good amount of 4 stars. And then USC, we're at 17th. Pretty much will fit, around here, unless we get, a couple in February. We have Jaden Walker. Walter Matthews, obviously, will sign there today. Obviously, he's built in already. But we have a 90.38, and we're solid, obviously, aside from Texas A&M if you want to compare averages. We had the flip, right? Ryan Bellum goes to Oregon. At the end of the day, it's a wide receiver. You could obviously get one in the portal, so I'm not as concerned. We have some young developing players already there. We got Makai Lemon, Deuce Robinson, Jacoby Lane, Zachariah Branch. We got dudes over there. We got a couple veterans still over there. So I think you plug somebody out there like another veteran, maybe an Evan Stewart. That would be great. And we'll talk about him, obviously, in the transfer portal segment of this. Nebraska's 18th, solid recruiting class. Texas A&M, they've lost some dudes, obviously. South Carolina, Ole Miss, Wisconsin, Texas Tech. Shout out to Wisconsin. They got a huge D-line commitment. I believe he's an edge. Ernest Wilmer Jr. So shout out to Wisconsin. Great class. Coach Fick is doing some things over there. Texas Tech, Missouri, Kentucky. Rounds off really the top 25. I'm not going to get into more of the top 50. Watch out for Jordan Seaton. So he's currently a Colorado tackle commit. He is crystal ball to Maryland. So heads up to that. He's going to be probably going to Maryland. We'll see about that. Other than that, there's really no other big times. It's LJ McCray, right? The Florida D lineman that I kind of mentioned. He's out there. He's going to take some visits. Dominic McKinsley. So there's some people out there that still haven't signed. They're going to kind of wait until February because they're not going in. They're not going to go early. But in terms of USC, if you're curious about that, our class is pretty much set. We have a couple out there. Again, for February, we got Jaden Walker. We might be get involved with maybe someone else out there that we're kind of not thinking about right now. Maybe a D lineman or whatnot. But great class. If you want to get into really the class, in my opinion, best, I think he's the top interior offensive lineman right now in 247. He's a center. I think he could has the potential to really start right away, in my opinion. Marcellus Williams, USC legacy player, DB. He could probably play right away, especially the transition with our DB room. Cameron Fountain, edge. This guy's in the SEC country. We were able to pull him away from those guys: Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, all those Alabamas, right? Xavier Jordan, 6'1", top 100 player, obviously 89. I think and this again, no disrespect just because the flip just happened, but I I'm more excited about Xavier Jordan than Ryan Pellum. Ryan Pellum reminds me of another version of Zachariah Branch. I think Xavier Jordan can ball out. So big time right here. Carlin Jones again, 6'3", 285, going to be a great D lineman. Has a chance to be in the first two groups of the D lineman room, and excited about this guy because we came in late with this guy, former Nebraska commit. He was very lean to basic crystal ball to Ohio State, and we balled out. Funny little story, in a way. Uh, he said that basically, he would be able to deal with mental health easier in LA than if he was in Ohio State. So Elijah Newby, he's been skyrocketing. He is top 300 player. Elijah Newby, linebacker. He can play inside, outside. I'm excited about his growth and his game. Marquise Galagos, safety. I'm excited about him. I think he's very underrated. I think he's still overcoming some injuries and whatnot. And then Desmond Stevens, he's going to be a linebacker. He's going to be deadly. Already been hearing that he's already like 225. And then we got our linebackers, Makai Sinan and Justin Tana. Sounds like they might be tackles. We'll see about that. Joey Olsen, this guy I'm excited about, 6'5", 220. Giant Abasiri, another guy that I'm excited about. D lineman. I'm always excited about the trenches. Excited about obviously everyone, but trenches are the big ones, right? So 6'5", 290. Get him inside. Jarvis Boatwright, solid safety. Tackle. Brylan Conley, DB. Brian Jackson. This dude is a monster, 6'2", 240. I mean, he's a dog. Hayden Trader is a tackle, 6'6", 300. He's a 4-time state champion. That's crazy. You could say, oh, maybe competition isn't great. I mean, I think you're a 4-time state champion. I don't care if you're in Colorado, North Dakota, Maine, California. You know what I'm saying? So that was pretty cool to see. And Lorenzo Cohen, I mean, he's got an edge to him, man. He's a dog. Again, and then the hard commits right now is Walter Matthews and Isaiah Rubin. Oops. So they're hard commits because they haven't signed yet. Walter Matthews is going to sign from my understanding, from what I've been told from my sources, and then Isaiah Rubin. Again, he should be able to sign with us, but you never know. He could push off because of the Dante Williams no longer being a DB coach, right? So we have Doug Belk now, former Houston DC. He's now the DB coach for the USC Trojans. And again, if you want to follow more about USC and stuff like that, again, go subscribe to Light the Torch podcast, and you will get your up to date stuff, people. All right. So we're going to go on kind of the latest here and talk about some of the big names. So big name yesterday, Evan Stewart, 5-star wide receiver from Texas A&M. This is somebody that any school, but the Trojans need to get, in my opinion, really get. We need somebody that can do it. Basically, if you can put him, Deuce, Zachariah, Jacoby, man, it's got some dogs. So we'll see what happens there. Another one, Corey Formney, he is transferring out of the USC. He was a number 1 overall, recruit in his class. Just honestly, at the end of the day, just couldn't get on the field and couldn't produce and couldn't do his thing basically, right? He went through 2 or 3, 2 I think DCs. We had him basically 2 of those 3 years. Had him as like an outside linebacker where he would rush off like not with his hand on the ground, basically, right off the ground, and he's more with the ground. And so we see some flashes of him when he's on right with his hand on the ground, but it sucks to see, obviously, no matter who it is, to leave your program. But at the end of the day, it's we're not losing production; we're losing potential. Another one, Domani Jackson, another 5-star recruit coming out of LA. We're losing a little production here, but we're losing more of the potential, in my opinion. From what I'm hearing, though, it still could be us and Michigan. I think Bam is kind of involved as well, but I think it's going to come down to Michigan and us. He could still come back. Tackett Curtis and Chandler Morris, first off. So Chandler Morris, QB from TCU, started basically the last 2 years. 2 years ago, he got hurt, and then obviously Max Duggan kind of took over, and Chandler Morris played this past year. He's entering the portal. He's going to see where he goes. Hopefully, he can find a spot where he can just go and play. Tackett Curtis, 4-star linebacker from Louisiana. He's leaving. This is probably a byproduct of position coach no longer going to be there. DC no longer going to be there if he liked him as well. And I think the family's pushing as well. So I think those are kind of the 2 to 3 factors of why Tackett Curtis is there. We'll see. So I mean, his final 3 were Wisconsin, Ohio State, and us. From what I recall, it was really an Ohio State us battle. But so you can go to Ohio State. You might go home to LSU, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Moving along. So I know there's a few more on here. I thought. Oh, there it is. Malachi Nelson, quarterback, 4 or 5-star, right? QB from past class. He enters the portal. I mean, it sucks to see again. We're not losing production. We're losing potential. We're losing depth in terms of the QB room. Sounds like he didn't want to compete against Miller Moss and potentially Will Howard. Will Howard does commit to USC, which indications that's going to be the case. And I mean, I even heard rumblings that he was behind the third quarterback, Jake Jensen. And if that's the case, I think that's no disrespect to Jake Jensen, but this kind of just shows where Malachi's really at. Schools that came out early were South Carolina, Tulane, Houston, Cal, and somebody else. Because again, to my point, that shows again where people really see him right now. So again, it's official. Isaiah Williams has been flipped from Florida to Texas A&M. So shout out to more of the downfall of Texas or Florida, excuse me. And then Michael Tarquin, he's going to the portal again, grad transfer. He came to SC from Florida, and it's just up and down season with them. Couldn't be consistent enough, honestly. I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully, you can go and ball out. And then really, let's go over to the top because I don't see anyone that I can really talk about. So Walter Nolan, he's down to Ole Miss and Oregon. Right now, it's Ole Miss, so all the indications that can change. Evan Stewart right now, he just popped in yesterday. We'll see about how that comes out, but I hope we are at least involved. Dante Moore did commit to Oregon, even though Dylan Gabriel is there as well. So he's going to be sitting behind Dylan Gabriel, then taking over the reins. Gaden Green, tackle. Yeah, he left Oklahoma. He's going to Missouri. There was some smoke with Oregon. Nyland Green is in the portal, DB from Georgia. We'll see where he goes. A.J. Harris, another DB. There's some Auburn smoke here, but no crystal balls as of yet. Cameron Ward, about Miami and Florida State still in terms of the smoke. He's not taking any more visits, but he could take a virtual from what I'm hearing. Princely, edge from Florida is going to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is killing. Tyler Barrett from Tennessee going to Ole Miss. Chase Basantes or whatever, tackle, he's withdrawn, so he's staying in. Jamon Dumas Johnson, linebacker, Kentucky. Antoine Wells, Ole Miss. Andrew Makuba, Texas. LT Overton, Alabama. Holton Stott stays, Tennessee. Trevor Etienne, I'm hearing some Georgia smoke. We'll see what happens. Marvin Jones, edge, going for FSU. Malik Murphy, this would be somebody, again, that could replace Malachi, in my opinion. You could put him, sit under Will Howard, and then take the reins. We'll see. That would be ideal, though, but that'd be great. Will Howard, we are projected to get him. RJ Oben, Notre Dame. Torino Pride, Missouri. Deion Burks, OU. Joey Slackman, Florida. So, Malik Brown, ASU, I think this is a great fit for him. Obviously, I'm glad that he did not go to Oregon, but I think this is a great spot for him to be a running back and ball out. Him will scheme him up very, very, very nicely. Samuel Okunyolola, D lineman. I thought he was going to come to us or had some thought, but he's going to Colorado. That's a big pickup for them, in my opinion. Fadil Diggs, edge to Syracuse, big one. Colby Young just got a crystal ball to Georgia, wide receiver. Julian Phillips is going to go to Penn State. Kamari Ramsey is going to go to USC. Quincy Wiggins going to go to Colorado from LSU. So things are happening, guys. Common Court's going to Syracuse. Again, things are pop, and Houston Stout's going to go to Michigan. He still hasn't committed officially. Guys, that is this really good episode. Will Mike Tomlin be fired? Drop some comments in the YouTube on what you think about that. Let me know what you think about some of the recruiting teams, the team rankings. See if you feel like somebody's overrated, underrated, and give me your thoughts on the transfer portal. But as always, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like the episode. But as always,